Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Apocalypse's Historia, where we are here to bring you the weird and dark and spooky this season as we try to actually connect Shakespeare to Halloween as best as we can, because that's what we're here to do, is connect Shakespeare to everything. And so, but you start to find that I'm not being too cheeky here, that actually, how much of this spooky nature can we link back to the works of the great bard? For instance, most of the famous lines that you think of witches come from Macbeth. You know, the double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Shakespeare lines. And what's actually more interesting is that there is a lot of plays in this era that we don't particularly talk about or even know about that have to deal with witches and this growing folklore of the witches dealing with devils that sort of accompany this sort of backdrop of the actual time period where all this witch craze is going on. So we're going to try to go through this particular play called Mother Redcap and see what we can find, not only about connections to Shakespeare, but the other, larger aspects of this scene. So stay tuned. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. We got Brady and Chance back on the scene doing a podcast episode, and I was trying to do something topical for the fall season, and so I already re-shared the video about the witch scene comparison from Macbeth, one of my favorite videos. It did terribly at this point of the recording of this video, but I think it is still fun to sort of, like I said, try to connect it topically to the seasons, because I think that we sort of overlook how much of this goes back to this scene that we're looking into, right? So I was sort of leading in about, witches and associations with Halloween. It goes right back to the sort of Renaissance period,
Right.
and when, the actual meme of the witch comes about
Yeah.
and then gets slowly, associated with spookiness and then eventually to the modern conception of Halloween.
Yeah.
But, we don't get witches or evil nasty until this period almost. And then now we can try to figure out from the social perspective, looking at, all of a sudden these plays about this stuff is now entering the scene too, and like, how are they looking at it? How are they being interpreted as far as like, how do they see it, and so on and so forth. And
Right. And maybe not so much that they're not evil or not spooky, but giving it a specific kind of meme and definition, giving it a specific kind of archetype in our brains. So it's like you always gotta have kind
giving
of
it a form.
Yeah, a form. There you go. You always gotta have the cauldron, right?
Yeah.
You always
You gotta have the familiar, the black
familiar,
cat,
right? They always seem to be in some sort
newt.
of coven.
She turned me into a newt.
They're they seem to be grouping together.
Yes, There's an inversion of Christian archetypes in it too. You got the three witches, or they got Black Sabbath, and you got all that sort of, stuff associated with them too, right?
Right.
But before we dive right into this, because we're about to go full steam ahead here, ride our brooms. Make sure you check out all the links in the description. We're starting our book club up for the next couple months. We're going to start reading King Lear here very soon. So if you're interested in hanging out with us every Monday night, check out the Patreon link so you can support our work and kind of also join in our secret book club that we will keep the name secret until you join. It does not have anything to do with Aeschylus, but we will continue on from there. Thank you to all the usual supporters and viewers and commenters as well. And without further ado, because we got a lot to go through here tonight, and Chance and I will surely enough tangent and digress and whatnot.
Try not to. I'll try not to.
So all I have here pulled up is a Lost Plays database article about a play called Mother Redcap, and I don't know what old episode that. I think we were going through a Henslowe list, maybe, is probably what I think it was.
Yeah.
But I spotted a play that was called Mother Redcap, and the Redcap name stood out to me because, and I'm going to flash you to the screen, as a sort of, and I've related to Dungeons & Dragons plenty of times here on this channel, but, the name Redcap stood out to me because there's a creature in the 5th edition that I use quite often that was called a Redcap, and it's like a creepy little fairy thing, and it's dips its hat in blood, and it kicks people with its iron boots. And I And specifically, I found out that Redcaps are from like this Angloid sort of larger British English Isle
Right.
folklore from Scottish, Anglo border essentially, and not quite so Irish maybe for
Interesting.
once.
Okay.
And so that was kind of like a little neat, nifty thing. So when I saw the name Redcap or Mother Redcap in this play, I was like, oh, maybe it has something to do with this little, nasty little creature thing, this, very dark fairy thing. Here's another Magic the Gathering card. Shout out for my
MTG.
combo.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, just another little, just seeing this, little weird fairy thing in this name pop up in culture. But
Yeah, and the red cap seems to be specifically some kind of dark minion. That I wear a green cap. I don't associate any specific color or hat, item to be associated with evil, but
there's a
for whatever
modern
reason,
political, I would say like Phrygian cap
Yeah.
and then Make America Great hats or something like.
yeah. Well,
As far as-
there you go, red
there you
cap. Okay,
Exactly,
never
yeah.
mind. Touche. All right, I stand corrected. Oops.
But
Yeah. You're wearing the wrong cap, dude. You gotta.
oh yeah, where my Rockets, my red Rockets one.
Yeah. His red cap, although
By Thomas Nash.
that's
design.
not him associating with MAGA hats or
yeah, no,
anything.
not at all. I don't even associate with the Rockets. Technically. Yeah, I work to be ostentatious about other topics, but so yeah, just red caps, and so I was like, oh, I think we was going with you through the Henslowe, maybe this Henslowe episode or
dude.
one that related to it, and so I was like, oh, well, what is that? And you're like, oh, that's like a Michael Drayton play or something. And then
Yeah.
I think you'd already looked it up, and you're like, yeah, we don't have it. And I was
Yeah,
like,
it's
oh,
gone.
Dang it.
All the best ones are lost to history. Like Shakespeare's good, but man, the lost plays out there are probably the best things that we'll never get to read.
Yeah, there's one that's called, Hamlet, Hamlet in Space. We don't, we lost
we
that one.
lost
yeah,
Hamlet in
we don't have
Space.
that one.
Or what's it? Black Batman
Yeah,
of the North.
Black
Which
Batman of
I-
the North.
Assume is about an African American man playing Batman, which shouldn't like that. We shouldn't be far off from getting back to that.
No, we're really not.
Which I'm totally down for. Just
And so-
don't cast Denzel. He's like 70
Not
years
Denzel.
old. A fucking gladiator. Ugh. All right, my bad. I won't bring that up.
Fishburne.
I'll
No, he's
let-
too old.
I'll let
I'm just
him-
joking.
Yeah, well, he was always too old. But continue.
All right, so we got the Mother Redcap article here on the Lost Plays database. Also, apparently by Anthony Monday. How do we know that? We got a couple of clues and other things that maybe we'll dive through here. And so, like I let off here, probably the way that we first saw this is that it's in some Henslowe Diary records, okay?
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, I don't know what that is. Lady Out?
Laid out.
Laid out,
You
okay.
you just pronounce it like it sounds. Laid out on the 22nd of December, 1597, for a book called Mother Redcap to Anthony Monday and Mr. Drayton, a.k.a. Michael Drayton, for what, 32 shillings? I'm so bad with English monetary system. I think that's right.
But yeah, I guess it a couple more times,
Laid out the 22nd of December for that's the same one. Laid out 28th of December for a book called To Anthony Monday, so that's another 5 shillings. Oh, sorry, that's not shillings. That's 3 pounds. All right, I'm sorry, guys. All right.
Yeah, but
Laid
yeah,
out
so
for my
yeah, we
Lord
got
Admiral's men, paid unto Anthony Monday and Drayton for the last. Okay.
so yeah, just a few weeks after in January. So yeah, we got a couple entries here essentially for a play called Mother Redcap,
Yep.
right? Yeah, some more notes here about Henslowe
And,
paper.
Just for the context of the Henslowe Diary, this is going to be at the start of his section where he's listing authors. So this is, Henslowe's Diary covers all the way back to 91, but he doesn't list any of the authors until 97 onwards. And so he has all these listings of who he's paying to go write which script, and it shows you, like, if he's making multiple payments, it's because they're, like doing reworks or doing multiple sections, or they're getting paid in installments for the whole play. And that seems to be the case here. You also notice in Henslowe Diary that they are constantly writing in collaboration. And so, for Shakespeare fans, even no matter who your candidate is, it seems to me that people want to argue that Shakespeare is part of the Sir Thomas More play, and we know for a fact that Anthony Munday at least literally wrote most of the script for that play. Like, we don't know if those are his, words as in the sense of being the author, but we know that he copied it down if he didn't write it himself. So there is a Munday connection there with Shakespeare directly. Drayton himself has a direct connection with Shakespeare in that at least one of his plays gets printed as Shakespeare. And it is also a Munday play, and that's Sir John Oldcastle. When Sir John Oldcastle comes out, doesn't get printed as by Drayton, Munday, Houghton. No, sorry, not Houghton. Man, my brain's not working today, man. Sorry, guys, my brain's not working today. Here, let me turn it on. All right, sorry. Drayton, Munday. I'm not gonna remember the next two guys. It's fine. It's fine.
There's less names, but yeah, don't worry about all the names. But
Yeah.
still, the point was collaboration, essentially, and that most of these plays in this journal, as we pointed out in the past,
Drayton and Munday have been, conflated with Shakespeare, at least in their time. If we don't want to, you Prector fans that don't like the idea of conflating Drayton with Shakespeare, just know that, at least that happened back in Shakespeare's time, and you might want to ask about that. Although I'm pretty sure Prector undercuts his statement that Drayton's not De Vere by saying that Drayton is De Vere some point. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Continue.
So now we're trying to figure out, by Munday and Drayton, what kind of plays are Munday and Drayton known for? Can you answer that? Would you be able to say? So that way, if Munday and Drayton are writing a play, if they're writing Mother Redcap, can we try to guess what kind of play it would be?
Munday is just Mr. Anti-Catholic. Like, he's totally
anti-Catholic.
Like, if there's like an allegory to the play, there's gonna be or some kind of moral message or some kind of like propagandic agenda. It's gonna be something like how to get Catholics to oust themselves. That seems to be Anthony Munday's like total agenda. Seems to be this right hand man of Archbishop Whitgift. At least from such writings as I've read from like the Thomas Merriam thing with Marlowe did Shakespeare kill Marlowe that video. So like I don't know, and I found it rather convincing, and I feel like I've read that elsewhere as well. But yeah, Munday, that we don't have that many plays by Munday. We have like none from Drayton, but it seems like Drayton's big thing is history stuff.
Okay.
And so history plays.
That's right. Yeah.
When you look
a lot of nationalistic kind of plays.
Foundation of England specifically.
Yeah.
Like it's not just any history; it's English history. That's a good point. And he does do some love stuff. He does do some kind of pastorally, kind of that nature. But like, and it's not like he can't be funny. It's not like he can't be tragic. But largely, it seems the subject matter that he gravitates to, and whether it's the plays that he's writing in Henslowe or the poems that are printed under Drayton's name that we attribute to Drayton now, like the majority of that is British history.
Don't want to go too off track, but I do want to bring it back to Sydney. Doesn't one of Drayton's plays or poems or whatever, doesn't they have a Sydney character in it? I swear to God, like Polybion or one of them has some Sydney Arcadian character that it's not like Musidor's or one of those dudes. I swore one of them's in there.
Yeah, you're probably right. I can't
shove that one for later.
Yeah.
Go in the comments. I'll tag myself. All right, but moving on here with Mother Redcap. So just seeing if we could, So Drayton doing history stuff, Munday, some way of trying to get you to be anti-Catholic, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how is that going to tie in with the story that's
or
Mother
else
Redcap?
Trick people into being pro-Catholic so he can snatch you.
There you go. And so it's still, it's like, I don't even think we really knew that Redcap was quite witchy yet, or it didn't, these two guys, it'd be like having, I don't know, some historical documentary guy, nationalist guy tried to make a story about witches or something. It's like, wait, what?
And it's not like he doesn't do other stuff either, but like this isn't, what we associate with him. But I guess maybe part of that's because we don't have it anymore. If we had it and it was really good, we might associate it with him.
So we get a jest book, given the full name as Mother Redcap, Her Last Will and Testament, containing sundry conceited and pleasant tales, furnished with much variety to move delight. Apparently, I don't know what a chapbook is.
Chapbook's like a little kind of compilation book that would get printed together, and almost like people do with mixed CDs.
Okay.
Mixed tapes going back to the day.
This might be of interest. So, an entry for Mother Redcap's will and testament in the Stationer's Register for August 14, 1600. Amongst the things formerly printed and sent over to said Thomas Pavier is evidently a reprint of this text.
And Pavier is the one who prints Sir John Oldcastle.
Okay. Also, I guess related essentially to Monday and Drayton, so it makes sense. And so they were talking about doing some key-surd worches for Mother Redcap, and you're kind of getting a couple of different hits. But the one that's probably the most what we're trying to find out for this particular play is more likely to be probable analog of this one here by Michael Drayton that we find in something called the Moon Calf, which is just a section of this other thing called the Battle of Agincourt, fought by Henry V of that name, King of England, against the whole power of the French, yada, 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 yada. So, in this thing, and I have it pulled up here, so I have it, and good luck trying to read this thing. It was annoying reading this thing, but I have it here. I'll put it in the links in the description for you.
I've come to love reading this crap.
Sometimes, like I think we pointed out in the past, seeing some S's and F's get changed can have some pretty humorous results.
I kind of get Spencer now.
I kind of get. And so now I get Mason and Dixon by Pinchot.
Yeah, exactly.
And so here you go. Is there's a really long thing, and Mooncalf is just one particular part of it. And they're going to summarize here. The Mooncalf is likely a candidate for an analog to the play because, in addition to containing the most references to Mother Redcap, it also has the advantage of being authored by one of the playwrights responsible for the lost play. So, we got Drayton, and it's like, this thing is like a weird long prose poem thing. But we get this section called the Mooncalf, which is, I guess, more fiction. And the relevant part of the narrative takes the form of tale-telling contest between Mother Redcap and three other ladies, Gammer Girton, Mother Bomby, and Mother Howlet, the former two notably being subjects of extant plays, the anonymous Gammer Girton's Needle of 1553, and John Lilly's Mother Bomby of 87 to 90. Each tells a tale and deciphers the meaning of another's. Redcap's tale concerns a terrible prophecy, ignored all by one honest man, a prophecy that floods of biblical proportions that will inundate the earth. The one man who respects the prophecy takes refuge in a cave. Emerging after the storm, he sees a world gone mad. Naked women ride horses past him. A man mistakes his neighbor for a horse and leads him to water. And another man worships an ape as his god, and so forth. The unnamed island where Redcap's story takes place, thus earns the title Isle of Idiots. And the man who first revealed the prophecy was forced into the life of a hermit by the unbelieving masses is finally vindicated. Mother Bomby perceives the moral of the tale to be that the flood is a plague sent by God to punish the world, that the cave rock to which the believer clings is a metaphorical vantage point from which to contemplate the sad times of the declining world, and that no goodness can proceed from counseling fools. Mother Bomby tells her tale next. It concerns a powerful Medea-like witch who lives on an unnamed island with numerous mooncalf creatures. Oh, mooncalf. I looked that up. I don't remember what it is.
Mooncalf's like a little monster demon.
Okay, maybe like a Caliban-y looking.
Yeah. Caliban's a mooncalf. Yeah.
Chief amongst which is a babian or baboon whom she trained in her craft to carry out her plots. Very Sycorax, isn't it? Not far from the island lived a wise and skillful wizard who came to know of the witch through the spirits he sent abroad. Dude, this is literally the Tempest.
It's the
pre-Tempest. Yeah, prequel to Tempest. He impersonates the ape.
That would make sense because Tempest kind of
We've already kind of
Yeah, we've tread that. Yeah.
He impersonates the ape, and his spirit impersonates the witch. And in these guises, they separate their nemesis and drive the witch to drown herself in despair. The witch represents men's ambitions for riches. The wizard, sound counsel.
This is 100% the prequel to The Tempest.
Here you go. Here's your new Broadway, new play idea. You know,
I gotta go read Bombi. It's I haven't. It's by Lily. People argue, interestingly enough, though, that Bombi may not be by Lily because it seems stylistically so different from the rest of his plays. Which
interesting.
What does that mean for me or anybody?
Yeah. Fair game. Fair.
Yeah, like.
All right. The last two. Mother Howlett's tale concerns a man given to black sorcery who could turn into a werewolf.
I like that pronunciation of werewolf. Werewolf. That's nice.
If he gathered a magical herb and pronounced a magic spell. This definitely reminds me of Ulf Hednar, which if you're familiar with, another concept I've been looking into a lot is the concept of Odin and the roving war bands, and specifically Ulf Hednar is where we get those terms of werewolves or those concepts, or literally the word berserker, which is like bear shirt or something like that. And because they're the people that take on the personas or the energies of those things through, maybe psychoactive substances, maybe through chanting, magic spells, essentially, and the like. And so this werewolf would ravish and eat maidens in the woods, and steal fat little children for food.
That's hilarious.
The werewolf's exploits are undone when a silly ass, actually once a man, transformed into an ass by a witch, is hunted, survives, and regains his human form through a magical spring. The werewolf signifies a man given to blood and cruelty. The silly ass is a just soul and instrument of God.
Was that so? Like, I know Bombi and Redcap are actual plays. Is Mother Howlett a play? Because all the rest of these are all plays.
No, but I will.
Like, wait.
One other weird thing
How
that
is
I will
that not
point
a play?
out.
Like the other three are all plays.
I don't know where this one's coming up, but here's the only thing that I'll connect two bizarre things that come to my mind when I think of this. Howlett is the last name of the character Wolverine. His real last name is Howlett. And this is very much got to do with a guy who's he's very much a werewolf. He's Wolverine. He's literally like a savage sort of, crazy person. So that's all I got. But, nothing to do with this area. But yeah, just.
So the fourth play here is the movie Logan or something.
And so, and then Eddie Murphy as Donkey comes in and saves him.
I'm making waffles! Let me see. What is Mother Howlett?
And so, finally, Gammer-Gurton tells a fable about beasts and scarcity of resources, which Redcap correctly summarizes as, quote, "For goods ill-gotten do consume as fast." That's like the shortest one of the whole thing, too.
Yeah. Short and sweet and to the point. Yeah. I still haven't read Gammer-Gurton either.
1553, that's pretty early, too.
Yeah. That is really early.
References to the play. Also, one other thing, I'm sorry, before I continue on, I wanted to also bring that. When we first found out what Mother Redcap's story was, I did have hairs on end because I'm just, super captivated by flood myth stories.
Yeah.
And so just hearing that's what it was just sort of like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And, it gets me going hearing about world cataclysms and stuff like that. We've mentioned Randall Carson, I think, on this channel before.
Yeah, and if
Freemason Randall Carson, I will preface.
That's true.
So, references to the play. Before she proposes her interpretation of the moral of Redcap's tale, Mother Bombi makes what might be construed as a meta-theatrical quip, referring to Drayden in Monday's Lost Play, quote, "In my conceit, this is a pretty tale, and if some handsome players would take it, it's sure a pretty interlude would make." So they're kind of referencing like, oh, our little tale could, make another story somewhere else or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And once again, the handsome players, I guess they're talking about if Drayden's calling himself a handsome player, yada yada, right?
That's interesting.
Okay. So yeah, talking about critical commentary, I feel like they don't really have a whole lot. And then, but I don't know who this Gura guys is. Cites an entry in Henslowe's diary dated 9th of August, 98, as possible evidence that Redcap was offered at court.
Interesting.
I want to see what that source is. The entry documents a payment to Anthony Munday, an artist of a comedy for the court. Okay. Title of the play is not recorded. The entry also states that Mr. Drayton had given his word that the book will be done in one fortnight, is signed by Thomas Downton, and a footnote to the citation of the entry suggests the linkage here of Munday and Drayton in the second entry affirmed by the single payment suggests that the court might have been Mother Redcap. I don't know why, but just go maybe because it's Monday and Anthony. I don't know. In discussion of the dramatic vogue for witchcraft plays in the late 1590s, W.H. Harrington attends to lesser strands, such as the plays featuring the wise or cunning woman. Harrington cites lost plays like Mother Redcap as the originators of the fashion, described as the eruption of more realistic plays in 1597 to 98. Interesting. Quote, the evidence for the initiation of such vogue in 97 is not conclusive, only because the plays no longer survive. The indispensable Henslowe tells the story. In December 1597, he mentions Mother Redcap. This is probably a study of a wise woman. Continuing the type got under by was Lily's Mother Bombi. Earlier in the same year, Henslowe notes a performance of The Witch of Islington, but the next year it had been written Black Joan. The former was either an out-and-out witch play or such a play with political bearings. The latter, in all probability, was a witch play also. If we judge from the titles and the growing realism of dramatic treatment, there was a kind of far closer to an actual life than those hitherto considered. To continue to finish this little section up, in the context of play portrayals of the wise woman type, Diana Purkis suggests that Mother Redcap might possibly have been about a cunning woman, but might have also been a representation of the case of Alice Goodrich and Elizabeth White, both tried in 1597. They were an appropriate subject for the theater, for this was the first case in which the Puritan exorcist John Darrow was involved. The possessed boy in this case called the witch Mother Redcap. Purkis cites the most wonderful and true story of a certain witch named Alice Goodrich as a source for this narrative, and adds that both appear in 1597. The play probably postdates the trial, since Henslowe does not mention it until December.
Yeah.
So I guess they got a really
that sounds
fast,
right. Yeah.
I guess they got a fast turnaround for just turning.
That's Henslowe, baby.
Yeah.
Henslowe. What you want? You want to play about a secret agent in Croatia? Got it. I don't know if they had that. But seriously, folks, Henslowe had like a team of 20 plus writers. Not all at the same time, but I don't know. At the same time, probably about 15 rotating. A lot of them can work together in different combinations, and sometimes you can get one to write a whole play. Sometimes you can get 5 to write a play together, and any number in between, and they can put that stuff out in a month, if not less. Whereas you got people like the supposed narrative goes that you got people like Ben Jonson and Shakespeare that like. Now they need a year to pump out a play. Maybe they can put
just
2
like
out in a year.
Scorsese, they're going to take a while.
Yeah.
Like,
The
we're
Kubrick,
not, we're not.
You get one a decade, like.
Yeah, this is not TV.
The 80s Full Metal Jacket, that was it. Come back in the 90s and in 99, it's James Cameron time. You get one movie a decade. No, it's not that, but.
As far as so yeah, I mentioned a bunch of the witch plays, and just refer to some of the stuff that you've read, because I haven't perused as extensively as you have. Which of the witch plays have you read from the other people of this time period?
I think so. Obviously, Macbeth and blah blah blah. But outside of that, The Witch by Thomas Middleton, which I don't remember too keenly, so I probably need to go back and reread that. I remember not being too big a fan. I just felt like I didn't like it as much as The Changeling, and it felt like just very similar.
Was it witchy? As far as like our connotation or meme understanding of it?
Like, I don't know. It's about as witchy as that Eagles song, like, Witchy Woman. If that answers that question.
So it's not Peter Green's Black Magic Woman. It's Eagle's Witchy Woman.
Yeah, much more so. Which there are folks out there that like that kind of stuff, and I'm sure they're gonna like Middleton. No, I'm kidding. I just need to go back and reread it. It was a long time ago. I just remember really enjoying The Changeling. And when I say a long time ago, it was like what, 3 years ago? Not
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
But read a lot of plays since then. It was all very allegorical, and it was a tragic comedy, and it was very much making fun of Francis Carr for the Overbury murder, which so was The Changeling. I just felt like The Changeling was way funnier, and it had a cool subplot that was kind of lacking in The Witch. But it's about a girl and a guy trying to murder this guy that's keeping them from getting married, or that's trying that they're already married to, or something bloody yakety. Don't remember much witch stuff in it, but probably is chock full of it. And I just can't remember it well.
And you
That
also
said,
read The Witch of Edmonton?
yeah,
By
totally. Thomas Dekker, John Ford, William Raleigh, and John Webster.
Lord.
So
Middleton's just Middleton, though?
The Witch that's supposed to be one of Middleton's solo plays. The Changeling is Middleton and Raleigh.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Raleigh seems to be in all the plays that I like. Bertha Merlin, he's there.
To relate it back to also topics I talk about all the time, I just talked about Odin, but the movie The Northman by Roger Eggers,
Okay.
who's also drawing upon basically Hamlet and Saxon Grammaticus.
Yeah, he has this movie,
He's
The Witch.
The Witch, which it's cited as at least being like a title thing because it also has the double V, and so
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been. I feel like this guy is definitely like in somewhere in that scene. So yeah, Roger Eggers, I'm ready to have a conversation.
Come on the podcast,
Yeah, man.
Roger.
We'll talk about Slotkin and John D and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm ready.
If you want.
But so you've read a couple of them.
Yeah, and Witch of Edmonton, I really enjoyed that one. Really, really enjoyed that one. That one's all about this lady that lives on the outskirts of town, and because of various happenstances, different people find it advantageous to want to call her a witch, and because she's kind of middle-aged, she's not horrible looking. It's not like, oh god, I'm gonna be sick. It's just like, yeah, she probably doesn't get laid much, and she doesn't, and
She doesn't. She never does in the play.
yeah, she's not married. I think I don't know if she ever was married or if she's a widow, but she's not married, and people have been calling her a witch for a while, and she's not happy about it. She kind of gets charged with it, and she's dude, what the heck? What's wrong with people?
She's fed up.
And meanwhile, other people are kind of doing these other shenanigans. But to focus on her, at some point she meets this black dog who's, I don't know, Satan or the minion of Satan or the devil or just a weird talking black dog, or she's crazy. But he seems to tell her all these things on how to do, and it how to maybe do some spells against people, or how to maybe smite her enemies, and different things of this value, and it's very similar to Mephistopheles with Faustus, right? But it's this crazy black dog, and he's kind of funny too, and he just pops in and out, and it almost becomes like her daimon, but he's also kind of this sentient satanic character. I don't know, Happy Halloween, folks. Go check out Witch of Edmonton.
Yeah.
But she herself kind of goes along with it because it's this double jeopardy thing where it's dude, if everybody thinks that I'm a freaking witch, fine, I'll be a witch for you.
Harry Potter,
you want your
Sirius
witch?
Black.
And there you go.
Literary witches.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so I don't know, this whole idea of I wasn't a witch until you started all this witch hunting, but I'll be your witch now.
Yeah.
And then it's this self-fulfilling prophecy kind of priming and programming, and
yeah, oh no.
Yeah. And I don't know, just leading people into assuming these sort of stances.
Sort of Stanford prison rules. Sort of
exactly.
We define the rules for you, and somehow you're just self-segregate.
You're either somebody who thinks witches
label.
are evil, or you are somebody who is a witch. And there is
Yeah.
no room for being wait, are witches real? or is this just a crazy old lady? Or she's like, I'm not even crazy. I'm just mildly unattractive and 40. And it's like, yeah, she's a witch, all right. Get her out of here. Like,
And I've seen like other people claim as far as like Salem witch trial reasoning is anything from like ergots in the bread to also sort of political machinations, like kind of slowly edge your way to with whatever Hegelian like the political goal you've got in mind, or whatever. So all compelling, could all be
open-ended question there. Like,
this is also the time where they also have a profession of priest hunters. So like they got all these witches because they got their hunted priests.
That's what Monday was, dude. Monday's like priest hunters. That'll be the spinoff. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, there we go. Priest hunter. All right. So continue on here for the article. After we talked about a couple of plays of the era of what our cursory knowledge of it. Genre, yeah. Robert Kittile's 1600 Love's Lodestar, lively deciphered. Oh Lord, sorry y'all.
Love's Lodestar, lively deciphered.
Supports Harbage's supposition that the Lost play was a comedy. In Kitto's text, Redcap is cited in the company of two very famous jesters, Will Summers and John Scoggin. Quote, there he made a period to his oblative?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Anthem, the whole sum whereof seemed as acceptable to woeful Catherine as Eris, as a talk of Will Summers to a mind male content, or the tales of Mother Redcap to a heart-sick patient, or Scoggins least related to one mediating on the 7 sobs of a sorrowful soul. Oh my God, sorry y'all.
There he made a period to his oblative anthem, the whole sum of whereof seemed as acceptable to woeful Catherine as ears, as the talk of Will Summers to a mind malcontent, or the tales of Mother Redcap to a heart-sick patient, or Scoggins least related to one meditating on the 7 sobs of sorrowful soul.
You just let me do that, and you didn't step in and be like, I got you. You just let me do that.
Well, I didn't have to, like, kind of rethink about it, but the more I read it, the less it made sense to me. This wasn't the 7 sobs of sorrowful soul. That's a good title. But all right, sorry. Continue. It does seem that they're likening it to these are all sort of comedic things to a mind malcontent, or tales of Mother Redcap, to a heartsick patient, or Scoggins least related to one meditating on. And these all seem like play titles, right? And these all seem like comedic play titles.
All right. However, in 1597, the same year as the Lost Play, in an account of a 13-year-old Thomas Darling's strange fits and supposed possession by the devil, the author I.D. of The Most Wonderful and True Story of a certain witch named Alice Goodridge of Stappen Hill relates one of the boy's fits in which Redcap appears to be a witch. Quote, after falling into a trance, he started suddenly and said, yonder comes Mother Redcap. Look how she beat her brains out. See what is said is to be a witch. See how the toads gnaw the flesh from her bones. Inasmuch as Redcap's tale, in Drayton's text, concerns a prophecy, and witches might be associated with prophecies, there is some considering here. N.B., an anonymous ballad of 1714, A Prince and No Prince, or Mother Redcap's Strange and Wonderful Prophecy, combines Redcap, Girton, Hallett, and Bombi stories into one, which attributes solely to Redcap and emphasizes the prophecy dimension.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A Prince and No Prince reminds me of old Fletcher and Beaumont's A King and No King.
Yeah. Okay, so here's another interesting thing about the item sign for Mother Redcap. The name Mother Redcap is often associated with pubs. There was a pub. Oh, I'm gonna edit myself here. So yeah, on the note of this most strange and wonderful story, going down this witch rabbit hole here, I have an article pulled up by someone who was essentially looking into this. So yeah, Mother Redcap, the infamous witch of Camden Town, and I think, and there's like some ironies that this person points out. that there's a that she goes to this story of maybe of that one Alice Goodridge or whatever. And I'll try to just summarize it here as I think that there's an old lady, and it kind of sounds like the Edmonton one where there's like an old lady who like, it's like everyone, she like lived in this place that was super isolated, and like everyone knew that she was doing witchcraft, and the person's like, well, how do y'all know that she's
classic
doing that?
neighborhood kid story, like, oh, that's old Grandma Death. She's the meanest old lady in town.
Yeah.
That's Donnie Darko and Sandlot merged right there.
And so there's some, but I think this is even because this is sometime after. I forget when this article was taking place exactly. I want to say it's around this time period or just before or just after. But yeah, there just seems to be it's rampant. See, they're talking about the birth of this one between 03 and 1625. So that's after the time period we were just discussing.
Yeah.
Well, this is still Drayton's working period, I would still say.
Yeah,
right?
but that's almost to say that like somebody got
but
named.
Not that 97 stuff. Yeah,
right.
with
It's almost to say this person got like named after the play.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
And so,
you're all Redcap.
I start to find and so there's a couple of different rumor, folklore stuff going on here that it starts to get really dicey. Is like trying to nail down, which of these stories was before, which of the ones were after.
Classic.
Classic
Renaissance era attribution issue.
And so
that's a basic traffic light.
So she'll say that apparently this house becomes a tourist attraction, and so they whatever unfortunate. I don't want to go too heavy into whatever happened there to keep it brief, but it's like I don't remember. She gets essentially blamed, and everyone can tell she's doing that, even though if she lives in the middle of nowhere, so how's anyone able to tell she's doing that? Yada yada, all those ironies. But following her death, which is sometimes sightings being in 1676, her cottage becomes a sort of tourist attraction. People walked up to see it on Sundays from London. Eventually, someone realized there was money to be made and started selling refreshments from those who made the journey. A sign appeared outside featuring a portrait of Mother Redcap and her famous headwear. In the middle of the 18th century, it was a double building, a small cottage with a sloping roof on one side. It's likely that this was the original house Jacob Birmingham built. A larger building with a pointed roof clung to the side with a swinging sign outside. So you just remember those signs, y'all. About this sign is a kind of a big deal. This larger building at one time was extended as a form of mortuary. In 1776, the Home Secretary ordered that any criminals sentenced to death at Old Bailey should be executed at the crossroads outside Mother Redcap's house. The interior was to stop crowds gathering, but the authorities continued to use Tyburn, and eventually the order lapsed. Even 10-year-old Dickens was said to have visited the original building in 1822, fetching beer for his parents since they lived nearby. Keep in mind that some people say the old building was demolished in 1809, others claimed it was in 1820, so we might have to bear this with a pinch of salt. One pub was demolished in 1850 and another inn was built in 1870s. Eventually, the pub was renamed in 1985 and became the World's End Pub.
Oh, like that movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have, I think, a picture
here. The World's End, formerly the Mother Redcap.
I have a picture here, I think, of a supposed drawing of the inn itself or whatever. Let me shift this over. So yeah, here's it. At the main junction of Camden Town was a long-established business, once known as Mother Redcap or Mother Damnables, more recently the World's End. I forget when this...
Oh, wow. And I see it's because, like, after this, you're outside of London or something. Just the country town. I don't know.
And so, yeah, we're you get a couple of different stories about Mother Redcap associated with Camden Town and Kentish Town. I think we're about to go into that here. And just so y'all can see just how closely these two places are, when we talk about Camden Town and Kentish Town, like, they're not very far. So it's like, an 18-minute walk, just for reference later on.
Less than a mile.
So now we're going to talk about the
sign. For you
folks... Oh, yeah?
Some kind of kilometers. I don't know how to count those. It could be 2, it could be 1 million. You do the math. I don't have to because I live in America. All right, your
turn. American exceptionalism.
I just, folks.
Nah, dude. Yeah, I love feet, miles, and yards. And screw y'all metric
kilometers
people.
is in Greek, dude. Freaking love Greek.
But yeah, but it's an arbitrary. It's not.
Not enough to learn it.
Synchronized. Yeah, like universal measurement.
I'm sure you can find something that's universally a kilometer long. Or 10.
No.
10 yeah.
Oh my god, kids show. Here we go. So
My
don't forget, we were talking.
what I meant.
We were talking about the item sign. Remember the swinging sign that said Mother Redcap. So the name Mother Redcap is often associated with pubs. There was a pub called Mother Redcap at least as early as 1593, when a certain Philip Foulface, a pseudonym, referred to, quote, Tom Tipsay, an English tapster, well near choked with marvelous dry heat, which he of late had got by lifting over long and old Mother Redcaps.
Which, Bob Prechter thinks Philip Foulface is Oxford. It just seems unfair to me to say that Andrew Aguecheek is Philip Sidney because Philip Sidney had all these marks on his face, and then say, like, yeah, but Philip Foulface is Oxford. It's like, then why is
he
it...
really says that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Dude, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. Oh, my God, yeah.
He can, though. He does it all the time.
Yeah, anyone impartially out there, yeah. Someone named Philip Sidney, who apparently had, pox marks on whatever, right? Yeah, as soon as, Philip Foulface, I just felt...
That's him trying to invoke... I don't know. I haven't looked enough into the Philip Foulface stuff, but I do know that he claims that.
Yeah, as soon as I read this thing, I was like, wait a second, am I finding Sydney again? Like,
yeah.
You know, I was just trying to have fun here.
Yeah,
this
was Halloween time.
All right, and so...
But I guess we are exactly a week after his supposed death date, so,
we're in the liminal space of him dying and not dying, because I thought he gets wounded but then doesn't die for a minute, right?
Yeah. Well, no, he got wounded at the end of September, then died.
Oh, that's when it is. Okay.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have Halloween without Philip Sidney. I'm just kidding. In 1638, Richard Brathwaite describes passing through Holloway in his Barnaby's journal, quote, "Thence to Hallowell, Mother Redcap, in a troop of trulls I did hap, whores of Babylon me impalled, and me..."
Whore of Babylon is a Decker play.
Whores of Babylon me impalled, and me their Adonis called.
Venus and Adonis.
Yeah. With me toyed they, busied me, called me, but being needy, out they pulled me.
Real way with words, that Brathwaite. But yeah, what's he?
Well, that's interesting that he's talking about thence to Mother Redcap's talking about literally walking through a place or whatever, but then he starts talking about
he just
Drayton
gets attacked by prostitutes.
But he's knowing to reference Drayton and Shakespeare as well for some reason.
Decker and Shakespeare.
Or Decker and Shakespeare though.
Yeah, that is.
So is the Mother Redcap place named after
Drayton, Decker, Shakespeare?
Or it's just it's a common place that was just super hot, and now it's all connected in this scene.
That's interesting, yeah.
Pepys visited a pub by this name in Holloway.
Peeps is how you say it.
Oh, Pepys visited a pub by this name in Holloway, presumably the same pub, on the 24th of September, 1661. So he rode easily through, and only drinking in Holloway at the sign of a woman with cakes in one hand and a pot of ale in the other, which did give good occasion of mirth, resembling her to the maid that served us. We got home very timely and well. Pepys' editor Latham and Matthews glossed this pub as the Mother Redcap, as well-known house on the Great North Road. Jacob Larwood and John Camden Houghton, in their History of Signboards, assert, without providing a source, that formerly the following verses accompanied this sign. Old Mother Redcap, according to her tale, lived 20 and 100 years by drinking this good ale. It was her meat, it was her drink, and medicine besides, and if she still had drank this ale, she never would have died. It is presumably in this context of her ale's vivifying quality that Thomas Heywood has shortly announced, whilst drunk, quote, "Come, Harringfield, now we have been drinking of Mother Redcap's ale. Let us go make some sport with the wise woman." From the Wise Woman of Hodgson, from Thomas Heywood.
I gotta check that one out.
Yeah. More importantly, Larwood and Houghton's information about signboards might help us make sense of the item in Henslow's property list. Item, a sign for Mother Redcap. Was this sign perhaps a signboard? Larwood and Houghton also note that who the original Mother Redcap was is believed to be unknown, and not unlikely an but not unlikely is personification of Skelton's famous Eleanor Rumning, the alewife.
Okay.
The thing that I had in so if you go back and we talked about the moon calf where we actually had we still don't have the play, but we do have Drayton's the moon calf where it has some of the maybe plot points that they talk about. When you go back and read it, they are all sitting around and drinking ale. They do mention that the witches or these old ladies or whatever, they are specifically like, all right, well, tip your drink and do the thing, and we'll drink your ale. First, you go and tell your tale, or something like that. I forget exactly how it goes, but it is implied that they are all sitting around and having a drink. So we are still reinforcing that there's a Delphi association with like drinking ale and this Mother Redcap thing going on.
Yeah, this is some kind of.
But once again, it's like, why are you having this boy? Where Mother Redcap just seems to be like, oh look, it's a fun drinking place, and maybe it's just a hot name at the time, and then it just kind of sticks and becomes less harmless. But why did you have this boy supposedly in the marvelous tale of yada yada, and he's like, oh, Mother Redcap, or is it just, I can't get a grasp of what's coming first, essentially, Mother Redcap just seems like, drinking and sharing old prophecy stories. But, Mother Redcap, and somehow also spooky, creepy rich at some point, too. So, yeah, it's just kind of strange.
That's an excellent question. Yeah, I would guess that it's, simultaneously both are kind of happening and then later being syncretized together, because you probably have a faction of people that rather enjoy going to this sort of red light district to go get drunk. And you're going to have a bunch of puritanical people that are like, no, evil, bad, no. That's witch stuff. Don't let your kids over there. They will turn your boy was a good kid. He used to milk the cows and pray to Jesus, and he is like, can't even think straight, and he humps everything he sees now. Like, your son's a profligate. He's worthless. What happened? And it's like, oh, it's that darn, Mother Redcap red light district over yon.
After the rising sun. Redcap.
Like, they didn't have heroin back then, so some had to ruin you, But I do think that it's something like that. Like, the sort of...
There's another thing I have. Yeah, so we have weird urban myths or rural folklore stuff also happening real time about witches going on. Like I said, I showed that one story about, it's early mid 1600s, so not quite the late 1500s as we'd like. But there's another one I have here that I'll share another time. And it's got all to do with like pirates in the English area too. It's like maybe in the late 1600s, early 1700s, about some other lady named Redcap and something going on and a bunch of treasure being buried or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like way off the weeds here. We need to go back and look at that 1717 play or thing. Yeah, A Prince, or Mother Redcap's Strange and Wonderful Prophecy, which combined Redcap, Gurdon, Hallett, and Bombay's story into one. That would be something interesting to follow up with.
Yeah, that would be.
So one lost play, one. Well, it's not a single entry in the Henslowe Diary, but it's just a couple of lines, out of the whole Henslowe Diary.
Right.
And yeah, it's just like a weird black hole of things that we can't quite. But it's really interesting how they've done this research to kind of like,
try and piece something together. And this is mainstream Orthodox scholarship, right. And it's like this is one of those things that like, we as Shakespeare doubters like to. Get on our, skeptical high horse and say, hey, look, academia is trying to project some historical narrative to get people to keep their jobs, and that, we want to keep the Shakespeare birthplace trust rolling and Stratfordian, keep it perpetuated. And, there's some truth to those complaints. That's surely true. But, like, no, there is a lot of really good stuff coming out of what Orthodox stuff is doing. It just honestly just more like the thing is like, I need more of that. Like, okay, cool, we got this lost plays database. How about just an entire database of Elizabethan plays that like are easily accessible and readable, and like Folgers sorta has that, but it's like so much easier to get a hold of any of these Shakespeare plays. But like, some of these playwrights that didn't get big old folios or nice, easily navigable canons, like you know Marston or Haywood. More of that. Like, let's look at this stuff. And so I think that if we get a better look at all the plays of this era, not just trying to suss out and detective out what some of these lost plays may or may not be about, but like actually look at all the plays of the era, like trying to see what or Shakespeare could or couldn't be. We'll have a lot more like accurate judgment on that. Honestly, like so many of us out there, just to humble ourselves real quick, so many of us like have this really diehard opinion on Shakespeare, and like some of us haven't even read all 36 of the plays to have them all like down pat, sort of memorized and understood, much less the 1,500 extant plays of the era. Like, come on, guys, like let's look at some of the deeper stuff. And so that's what sent me and Brady off in some of these tangents and directions that we have, and Brady seems to keep circling back to a lot of this sort of pagan mythological stuff, and witches definitely traces back to that. And this Mother Redcap play is kind of an interesting pivot point in this sort of witch portrayal that pre that you don't get too much, and then
It's like
after
the
that
final
it becomes
nail in the
this sort
coffin
yeah.
of converting all the stuff like fairies and stuff into that's just the devil.
Demonic, yeah.
And the witches specifically work with the
Yeah.
devil. And now it's that final like, and now like, oh look, I don't want to quite say like satanic panic, but like if you could get people up in that sort of fervor, like that's kind of what's happening here. And like, sure, like there may be bad people out there, but there's also a lot of people caught in the crossfires too, so like. It's definitely interesting to kind of see all that. And it's definitely like a shift in those cultural perceptions of things, and like how the Metis woman does become the sort of like outcasty, definitely associated with those sorts of like anti puritanical ideals or whatever. So I have one last little bizarre tangent here. I don't know how I found this. To the Mad World at Hodgson, some essay I found here from the Literary London Society. And I think this is actually talking about some kind of, like we talked earlier about those guys, that one poem about a guy just walking down an alley. This is some other sort of contemporary, 1609, about, living in London or something of those sorts, okay? So yeah, they start off, it will be perhaps come as a surprise that the exotic location being described here in this poem thing, here is none other than the Pimlico, public house in Hoxton, East London. Okay. One could take a similar journey today and walk due north of the city of London through the bars and art galleries of Hoxton Square to the Arden Estate, a collection of tenement blocks typical of the social housing built by the London Country Council in the mid-20th century, now managed by the London blah, blah, blah. Shakespeareana abounds in the names of the streets and buildings here. Hathaway House, Cordelia House, Reagan House, Macbeth public houses. Okay? It's all about this sort of like it's like a pamphlet or something talking about, I guess we'll just read it here. To all travelers, you that wear out your lives and wear your bodies in discovery of strange countries, be it for pleasure or profit, rig out a fleet and make a voyage to a land or island which never be found out by the Portugals, Spaniards, or Hollanders, but only, and now of late by Englishmen. The name of it is Pimlico. Here have I drawn a large map of it. By this chart, may you have in a few hours, and with little or no wind, arrive in the very mouth of the haven of the heaven. Some that have traveled thither affirm it to be part of the continent, but the better sort of navigators say it is an island full of people. It is, and they are very wild, the women being able to endure more and do better service than the men. Divers of opinion that is an enchanted island and haunted with strange spirits, for the people there, once every moon, either stark mad or else lose their own shapes, and are transformed into beasts, yet within 12 hours recover their wits and shapes again. Pimlico, or Run Redcap. 'Tis a mad world at Hodgson. So yeah, they start to kind of talk about some of this stuff, and they think that they're referencing America here in a sort of vague tense or a sense, and we talked about Eleanor Rumney in the last essay here. So it says Pimlico is in several parts, comprising a verse incantation, a prose introduction, and a lengthy verse description of a journey to Hoxton across the surrounding fields, which details the speaker's experiences there. The last contains 2 excerpts from Skelton's The Turning of Eleanor Rumney, as the speaker supposedly opens his book to read. Okay, so yeah, they talk about a bunch of different stuff, leading up into the play, but we're going to get to the relevant Shakespeare stuff here. Okay. Hoxton, Pimlico, and the Tempest. As has been seen, Pimlico is a text steeped in the cultures of the northeastern suburbs and transforms in a complex way those discourses that lie readily to the hand there: madness, urban pastoral, ritualistic and theatrical drama, and colonization. All these have certain similarities with the Tempest, probably first performed by 2 years after the publication of Pimlico, and its relative importance of these analogous elements that I wish to now evaluate. Which we already talked about the Tempest in the last thing too. Remember some of the plot elements, okay? So yeah, we're still circling around this play here. It is first to be said that there is no conclusive textual evidence that Shakespeare had either read Pimlico and used it in the Tempest, or had in reality been to the tavern, though the second is likely, knowing as we do that it was frequented by those involved with the nearby theaters in Shoreditch, as evidenced by the duel between Johnson and Spencer in 1598. Indeed, Shakespeare had lived in Bishopsgate and Shoreditch during the 1590s. In addition, Pimlico, as we have seen, intimately concerned with the rivalries between the theaters and associated with poetomachia.
That's the war of the theaters.
However, there are a large number of analogies between Pimlico, the pamphlet, and the places we imagine to have been in Shakespeare's last complete play, which taken together form a convincing body of evidence that these texts about Hoxton influenced the writing of the play. At the very least, Pimlico provides some clues on how to read the Tempest historically in terms of the early Jacobean metropolis. So there's like some, literal plot elements, I guess. So the following are some elements of Pimlico. They're analogous at the level of plot to the Tempest. Hoxton, like Caliban's Island, kind of reminds me of the Mooncalf, right? Is an enchanted isle where people change their state temporarily. Such changes of state include apparent madness, real drunkenness, being soothed by the beauties of nature, being subjected to spectacles. Isn't that exactly what happens in all the other subplots, basically?
Yeah.
Including music that can be that can be experienced both as harmonious beauty and fearful sights and sounds. Like literally, don't all the sprites come out and like literally, there's all those stage directions of all that stuff coming out. The Lord of the Misrule has difficulty in keeping order, but is ultimately successful in redemptively bringing people together. The references to travel in the New World, literally, Brave New World, comes from the Tempest. In both Pimlico and the Tempest suggest that the possibility of redemption and change before a return is made to the Old World, or the city, the wondrous Isle of Pimlico, like Caliban's Island, and America itself, offers a fresh space of personal transformation, even though the old world problems of power and orderly gradually become apparent. Shakespeare and the author of Pimlico are not simply using the same accounts of the New World, but are imagining them in similar ways. Most crucially, perhaps, the Enchanted Isle, based heavily on descriptions of the New World, is relocated in the London suburbs, the place of the theaters, still Shoreditch as much as Bankside, and also in the Mediterranean. The last point solves the main difficulty in the post-colonial reading of The Tempest, that Caliban's Island is placed explicitly in the Mediterranean. Shakespeare already had a precedent for this double placement in the account of the Tavern of Hoxton, at Hoxton. Yeah, so there's, just to keep it brief, because I could probably come back, I'll try to get back to just the Redcap stuff here. There's one further set of evidence on which conjectures can be reasonably made that may help us to understand Pimlico's relationship to contemporary accounts of the New World and Shakespeare's use of this poem and other material in The Tempest. As has been said, the subtitle, Run Redcap, is a quotation from Thomas Decker's Satyrio Maestrix, where it appears to be used as a derogatory address to Michael Drayton, who co-authored a play with Anthony Munday called Mother Redcap, for which Henslowe paid a total of 6 yada yada that me and James can never
Yeah, 6 pounds.
6 pounds. This play is now lost, as we all just discussed, but there is a possible analog for it in a poem, The Moon Calf, as we just previously discussed, published much later in a miscellaneous volume of 1627. In this poem, the three midwives or gossips sit around drinking at the birth of a hideous, deformed twins and decide each to tell an allegorical story, each guessing the meaning of the others. As we said, Mother Redcap deals with the sinful island, with the deluge, and all that stuff. It says the storm. Mother Redcap's story concerns the sinful island, where the only good man, termed a wizard, has prophesied a great tempest that will disturb the natural order of things. The storm comes to pass, and the wizard shelters himself from the deluge in a cave and a huge rock. When the storm finishes, the man goes out and sees a bedlam nation. A woman farrows piglets, someone is mistaken as neighbor for a horse, a man worships an apes, and the like. The wizard preaches repentance, and the islanders in fact blame him for their troubles, and he is forced to retreat hermit-like to his cave. It cannot be proven that Drayton's poem is an analog for his earlier play, but it is reasonable conjecture. Intriguingly, there are clear similarities between the plot of Mother Redcap's tale and that of The Tempest. In addition, the title of the poem, meaning congenital idiot, deformed animal or monster, is used several times by Stefano and Troncullo to address Caliban in Acts 2 and 3 of The Tempest.
Congenital idiot means, the R word.
Yeah. And the deformed progeny is compared by one of the midwives to African issue. Afrix that said, mother of monsters is, let her but show me such a one as this. While the location of the island in Redcap's tale is explicitly not stated, where this lie is and that I cannot show, let them inquire that have desire to know. It is most often compared to Bedlam, and particularly to the disreputable pastimes of the suburbs.
And so, while we're talking about all this Bedlam stuff, this idea that we're getting all these images of Bedlam as related to Redcap, Pimlico, and Tempest. Oxfordians have also pointed out that Fisher's Folly, where this university wits crowd, which could be our, Shakespeare group, that's right across the street from Bedlam itself, like where they have asylum. And so you have a bunch of insane people right across the street from where they're riding and drinking. So yeah, interesting.
Just to wrap this all up here, we'll finish this article here, and that's pretty much be it. Scenes of madness and the inversion of the natural and social order are thus transposed to the leisurely suburbs in this poem. We cannot unfortunately know what the relationship between Drayton's poem and his play might be, nor hence between Pimlico and Drayton's play. Yet there is a nexus of topographical imagery that links the moon calf to Pimlico, and in turn to the Tempest. The journey, the storm, the tumultuous suburb as enchanted island, the lord who despite his magic cannot quite keep order, and the conditional promise of change to the experiences possible there. It was not long before Pimlico and Hoxton became respectable. They are mentioned as being pleasant place of resort in a number of texts from the mid-17th century onwards, so that by 1699 a new dictionary of terms ancient and modern of the Sinting crew described Pimlico as a bowling green of good report at Hodgson. As has been suggested, perhaps, our poem Pimlico is nostalgic in nature, that despite its triumphalist tone towards the end, the real action had moved on from the ritualistic drunken street drama to the purpose-built theaters, and especially those on Bankside. But whoever the author of the poem was, he has left us with a record of the suburban space, beyond the city limits, which at times utopian, neither subject to distinctions between ranks nor commercial exploitation, but is at times suggestive of commercial, military, and colonial monopolization, and a madness that has to be cured by leaving the Enchanted Isle. We also have a glimpse here of how Shakespeare might have worked the accounts of the New World from Roanoke and Jamestown expeditions into a drama whose place is in America, in the Mediterranean, but more urgently in London suburbs. If in the second act of The Tempest, Gonzalo is right when he could be king of the kingless isle, and the Tunis was Carthage, then Tunis might as well be Virginia or Hoxton as well, with the mysterious Bim Pimlico, the Pimlician brewer, for its lawless lawgiver. So yeah, interesting connections because I feel like, yeah, we were already kind of mentioning stuff about the Tempest, and then boom, yeah, here's even more of it.
Yeah.
They sort of came about it. So, yeah, wizards and witches, yeah, kind of all in
Seems to be part of the same little kind of
Yeah.
metaverse, you know.
Sycorax is definitely described as a witch in the Tempest. I'm pretty sure, right? But
sure,
yeah, but somehow wizards. Oh no, if you're like a white wizard, you know, technically that's how they describe them, or because he's summoning good angels or whatever.
Yeah, Prospero versus Faustus sort of thing.
So yeah, that was our little exploration of this lost play. A couple of different rabbit holes we could go down, and yeah, it's kind of fun that we actually did go back to a proper Shakespeare thing we've actually done before. Yeah, so we've only covered the Tempest really as far as plot and light analysis.
Yeah. Actually, kind of relating it back to some authorship question stuff, and just I don't know, relating it back to the Henslowe era, and it begs the question about the Tempest dating, though, right?
Yeah.
That like all that stuff that's being referenced is all early 90s.
Yeah.
And that Redcap's sort of the end of all those early 90s sort of things. Like, clearly the Tempest in 1609, like, yeah, it's getting reprinted along with this pamphlet for whatever X reason, probably because the Bermuda thing made this whole shipwreck thing hot again. So they're like, all right, let's pump out this pamphlet and Tempest in 1609, but like it seems couched in all this Mother Bombay early 90s stuff, and you know, I know Oxfordians have shown maybe the original stuff's about some shipwrecks in the Mediterranean over in the 1580s or 70s, but I've just wondered, since the word strange pops up more times in the Tempest than, you know, pretty much any other Shakespeare play other than Sir Thomas More, which is its own thing. But any other Shakespeare play, like any other two combined, the words strange and strangers just all over the Tempest.
Yeah, Ferdinand's also a character
Ferdinand's
name.
also a character that, like, okay, this was one of the ones that they worked a bunch for Lord Strange. And I don't know, a lot of people point out that the Tempest play has a lot of carryover with Lily, that structurally it's a lot like a Lily play.
And we're kind of also diving into qualitative Shakespeare claims, like, you know, how do we know that Shakespeare didn't just pick 25% of this, 25% of Lily, a little bit of Drayden, and blah, 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 and combined it? And it's just like, you know, there's some genius in being able to Daft Punk remix something, but like, yo, like, we need to be careful about making sure we, like, understand that, well, Daft Punk had to sample from something in order to get there, so like, they have to have that proper taste, and so it's not all just like, oh, I'm just pulling it out. It's like, no, I'm remixing. It's just like it's very much it's you know, plausible or not plausible, but
it definitely seems like serial composition needs to be taken very, very seriously.
Yes,
'cause
100%.
when it's getting revived or revitalized, it's probably getting worked over by, in my honest opinion, a Middletonian and maybe Websterian hand.
Yes.
But the original writer of it, you know, whether we want to call these the same people or not doesn't really matter. It's such a long distance of time that it's a different stylistic hand. Let's, for the sake of argument, just say that the earlier writer may be something like Lily, because it's working on that Lily, you know, dramatic plot, comic subplot structure. You have these people that are completely like isolated from each other and will only come together at the end of the play. Like that's a mainstay of Lily, and the comedy reads so much like Lily's kind of usual couple or trio of fools, that, you know, all have their own little distinct, you know, taste for each of the Lily's plays. You know, each of his fools, it's not the same fool's retread. That's why he's great. But they're all kind of different, various fools. Like, the whole thing reads like Lily, and everybody says that, you know, no, it's from 1609 because it's all about how Shakespeare. It's like, maybe it's 1612, 1611, doesn't really matter. Late Shakespeare. I'm done writing plays forever. That's Prospero throwing down his staff, and Shakespeare never wrote another solo play again, and that's why it's, you know, super late Shakespeare. But I've just wondered, if you do date it to 90-91 with Lord Strange's group, and where you're getting people like Nash and Green maybe still writing, and you know, Marlowe writing, couldn't you possibly have a Lily before he retires, right around that exact time, writing part of that play? And so, who's the Lily hand? Who's the Marla hand? Who's the, and not that it's even that easy to sum up, because Lily's writings could have multiple hands in it, as we may see with Mother Bombay versus other stuff. Or, of course, we showed Marlowe needs to be disintegrated himself. So, but yeah, there's a lot of work to be done for this expanded authorship question, because not near enough people have given it serious thought, and scholars have looked at these things very seriously, but they've done it with a lot of bad assumptions that they can't or won't question, and so they have to work within these set of rules with these bad assumptions. We, in the Shakespeare authorship question, have gotten rid of all those bad assumptions, but a lot of us don't know how to yet work within the rules very well as they do.
And threw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah, and so we need to be able to do this kind of actual orthodox mainstream scholarly stuff without basing it and relying too much on horrible bad assumptions. That needs to happen a little more. That said, that's not what we need to do today, because today's our Halloween episode. So today was just fun time at the Madcap Redcap episode, and sorry if this felt tangential, guys. Sorry if this felt a little dry, but there are cool plays out there that people are not looking at. There are great authors that aren't just Shakespeare.
Deep cut ideas too, our new cultural, artifacts essentially. If you're into the Renaissance period, there's just lots to know. This article goes into a lot about America too, so American history all of a sudden, so it's all connected.
And folks, we here have also stated that we think that Michael Drayton shows up a bunch in Shakespeare too, so this may just be a Shakespeare play in actuality.
Right.
This one's lost, but go check out some of these other Henslowe plays that aren't lost. Like we were saying, Witch of Edmonton's not exactly a Henslowe play because it's post Henslowe, but it's guys that were writing for Henslowe. Go check out Middleton's The Witch, The Changeling. Go check out I don't know. There's some other cool kind of weird or wild or spooky plays. None of them are outright our scary horror stories like we have now.
Yes, and that's the commentary we kind of made at the beginning, is that this is the emergence of that trope. Coming about.
Starting to get the horror.
Maybe just ask your questions like, how does that happen? Like, why does that happen? So. Yeah, that's something we'll dive into here today.
What is it to enjoy being scared in general?
Yeah. Or I was also commenting on how does that, why does the social conception of the vitch, turn from that, nice medicine lady who worked with herbs to she's working with the devil, all that sort of stuff, so just how does that social process go underway, and the urban folklore reaction or creation of it or whatever, I don't know. Yeah, how do you can't go to you can't see a witch at Halloween with sort of being that's what I want you to kind of take away from this episode is see a witch as Halloween, you'll think to how did this whole period even get underway? How am I even able to associate these two things together,
Yeah, that's so true. Both the pagan aspects and the gender aspects and socioeconomic aspects, and at some point about being married, about being productive, having kids. If you're an old widow, what use are you? And also, I don't know, scapegoating, societal scapegoating, all that kind of stuff is at play, but also just finding some sort of avatar talisman to stand in for a lot of old pagan concepts and archetypes, kind of fuse it together and just all right, now we have our own little avatar stand in to turn into a demonic figure and sort of demonize all those ideas in a easy one fell swoop way, so yeah, I don't know, gnarly stuff. Happy Halloween to you, Brady. Happy Halloween to you, folks.
Shakespeare coined the term Halloween. Did you know? I'm just
don't quote us on that. But,
100% do not quote.
No, take us at our word.
Nilius and Verba me on that one.
Face value.
But yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Enjoy your festivities. Maybe we'll squeeze one in here before the end of the month that's topical. But if not, yeah, we'll be coming in hot. Check out all the links down below if you want to join the book club. Come be a part of a more tight-knit group as we'll come by week by week and be reading some Shakespeare and some other literature.
Had a pretty good meeting over Aeschylus and Agamemnon, and plan to talk about Euripides next, and then in a couple weeks here, gonna talk in our book club about King Lear, and super excited for that one, getting into some actual Shakespeare. So yeah, come join in. Water's warm. There's a nice little community staying steady and growing on the SAC authorship thing. Go check out Mariana's channel at Resolute Florio. Go check out Claire's channel at Context Shakespeare. Go check out, please, Jim Fess's channel at Jim Fess. And let me see, what's another one? Who am I forgetting? Go check out Ron Raffles' channel. Probably most of you guys already. It's probably just you guys watching this video. Anyway, but stick around for further videos in the future. Brady's got a bunch on his plate, and he wants to pump out some more of these solo videos. I got a few solo videos on attribution that I was ready to just fire at you guys, but now I totally want to redo them at a whole different angle, because I was just going to come at it with all this kind of Webster stuff, and I do want to talk about John Webster and Shakespeare. That's all I want to talk about for the rest of my life. But in order to do that, there's all sorts of Middleton and Shakespeare conversations that are a little difficult. We may have to kind of all of us sit down on the couch and kind of have a little heart-to-heart, a little coming to Jesus, and talk about the Middletons and the Shakespeares in the world, because it's not all like we think it is. There are bad people out there that will do bad things, and what does that even mean, Chance? Stay tuned. I don't know. No, there's no, just in this video.
All right, guys. Links down in the description. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good one, and as always, Nullius in Verba.